Johnny, it was weird. This is crazy. A year ago, Kansas plays Illinois.
Yep.
Andy Kotelnicki schemes up a run game that just completely overwhelms Illinois. A year later, it looked like Brett Bielema never learned his lesson because it was awfully close to the same thing here tonight.
It really was. Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, offensive line. I mean, they imposed their will throughout the course of this game. You're really from the jump, and then especially down into the fourth quarter, you could tell that Illinois defense was gassed. The Katron Allen touchdown at the very end of the game to seal it after the interception by A.J. Harris. At that point, obviously the game was over, but you could just tell, Illinois' defense had been gashed, had been run through, quite literally. I mean, there were some arm tackles or even some serious tackle attempts that Nick Singleton and Katron Allen had, no problem just, bouncing off of or going through for an extra 3 yards. It was an efficient, not an explosive, but an efficient performance from the offense and the ground game specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I think we knew that Penn State was going to be a little bit more athletic than this Illinois team. Illinois was scrappy, but just the physical dominance right away. And I think to Penn State's credit, Kotelnicki, it was simple, but like, why mess with a good thing? They only had one explosive play at 20 yards, but I think they had 9 runs of 10 or more yards. If they had a field goal kicker, the game wouldn't have been as close. But I thought the drive to start the third quarter really, that's when they seized control of the game. I think they went, they went 74 yards in like 12 plays, and that was it. Luke Altmaier, I thought, actually played pretty well. He was running for his life. He got the snot kicked out of him. Yeah. Abdul Carter, I don't think statistically he's ever had a better game at Penn State. He's not perfect. He still makes mistakes, but man, that first step combined with his power. I never thought I would say this because I really like Micah Parsons, but this guy physically is almost like a clone of him right now. He really reminds me of him.
Luke Altmaier's ice bath tomorrow is going to hit different. I mean, he got beat up there, especially at the end of the game. When they're trailing, they're trying to make something happen. It's obvious passing situations, and Abdul and the rest of the defense can kind of tee off. And Abdul did have a great game. I think he had 4 tackles for loss, including a couple sacks. But it wasn't just him either. I mean, Zane Durant was a problem on the interior defensive line.
Kobe King.
Jalen Kobe King. Kobe King, I thought, had a really good game.
He did.
And I do, every game, it's like the game balls, offensive game ball, standout, defensive, etc. And I had Kobe King in there for a while because he was all over the field. So credit to 41, and he's the guy who's directing that defense out there too with the green dot. So overall, a great defensive performance. Tom Allen, applied the pressure, brought the blitzes when it was timely and worked out well, I thought. Illinois, they converted a 3rd and 21. There were some weird chunk plays in there early, but I thought the defense really bowed up and played well, especially down the stretch. You mentioned, if the kicking situation was a little bit better, Sander Sahadak missing a couple.
Lehigh Valley guy, just like me.
It's tough. I mean, this
Painful.
is a couple of 40-yard field goals, and look, obviously college players can have bad nights. Kickers especially can have bad nights. His hold on the job seemed tentative or cautiously optimistic maybe coming out of preseason camp. Ryan Barker, the walk-on, was in for the final extra point, so we'll see what comes of that, if anything, as Penn State moves on to play UCLA next week.
think maybe give Tyler Warren a shot. He can do everything.
He can do everything else.
Team. Like, I would give him a shot. Wildcat quarterback, threw a touchdown pass, ran for one today over the top. I mean, he catches just about everything thrown his way. He can block. One other thing, Brett Bielema kind of mouthed off about the crowd. It bit him in the ass. I'm sorry I said that, but
no, you're not. You're not sorry.
At the end of the second quarter, it could have easily been 14-7 Illinois. They got, I think, to the 2-yard line, and then they just went backwards because they couldn't hear anything.
It was a missed snap. They had penalties, procedural penalties. James Franklin in his post-game press conference said that they counted 7 plays that the crowd affected, whether it was delay of games, illegal shifts. I don't know who's keeping the math on that, but it did feel like it was a lot. I mean, the crowd had an impact. It was the whiteout energy, Bob. It very much was like that. In this game. I mean, we're standing in one of the booths here after write-in. It's late night, and this crowd a few hours ago though was effective.
One more thing, you agree with me? I know you will. Yeah. Shout out to the backup offensive guards for coming in. Yeah, Sal Wormley left the game. Then J.B. Nelson left the game. He replaced Sal Wormley. So Vega Ione was a starter, but they had Cooper Cousins in the game in the second half. He didn't look out of place. it's a pretty nice true freshman to have at your disposal when you lose 2 guards.
Yeah, and again, credit to Phil Troutwine too,
Yep.
the offensive line coach. Again, imposing your will, doing that against that defense. I mean, Nick and Katron averaged, I think it was 5.8 yards per carry, 196 yards between the two of them, a couple of touchdowns. This Illinois defense hadn't allowed a rushing touchdown, through 4 games up until this point, and Penn State goes out and does what they did. And I was talking to some of the guys, after the game, and one thing that Tyler Warren mentioned that I thought it was interesting was a point that Andy Kotelnicki harped on all week was don't get bored being efficient.
Yeah.
This was an explosive offense through the air. Drew Aller slinging it around through 3 games, and he didn't really do it tonight. But it was in Penn State's best interest for him not to do it, for him not to force plays against an Illinois defense, and specifically a secondary that we've seen has made plays through the first month of the season. So I thought it was a very measured and effective take on the offense side.
I have a sneaking suspicion if they wanted to use this game plan next week against UCLA at home, I'm pretty sure it'll work.
Yeah, I think so.